Most people spend their whole lives fighting for attention. They wake up every single day trying to stay visible. They post online constantly. They reply to messages right away. They show up to every event. They make sure everyone knows they are still around. They believe that if they just stay in the frame long enough, if they keep their face in front of people, they will eventually matter. They think being seen is the same as being valued. But that is a trap, because attention is a drug that wears off fast. You can have all the eyes on you today, and tomorrow those same eyes will be on someone else. The game is not about being seen. The game is about being remembered after you leave the room. Strategic people do not fight for attention. They fight for something much deeper. They fight for mental territory. This is a critical difference that most people never understand. Attention is temporary. It fades the moment you stop performing. But mental space is power. When someone owns your time, that is influence. When someone controls your schedule or demands your presence, they have a certain kind of control over you. But when someone owns your thoughts, that is a completely different level of power. When you replay their words in your head, hours after the conversation ended, when you wonder what they really meant by that one comment, when their presence stays with you, even after they have physically left, that is not just influence anymore. That is psychological dominance. You do not need to chase attention. You need to occupy the mind. And that is a completely different game, with completely different rules. Most people believe that obsession is created by intensity. They think if they give more energy, if they are more emotional, if they try harder, if they put more effort into every interaction, people will naturally become attached to them. They think love and obsession come from how much you give. But that is not how the human mind works at all. Obsession does not come from intensity. It comes from psychological tension. The human brain is not controlled by what is obvious and easy to understand. It is controlled by what feels unfinished. When everything is explained, when every question is answered, when there is nothing left to wonder about, the brain relaxes and moves on. When everything is predictable, when you know exactly what someone will say and do every single time, interest fades into boredom. But when something feels incomplete, when there is curiosity left hanging, when there is uncertainty about what happens next, when there is something important left unsaid, the mind does something interesting. It keeps returning to that moment again and again. It replays the conversation. It analyzes the tone. It tries to fill in the missing pieces. This is why the most powerful people are never the loudest in the room. They are the most mentally present. They are the ones whose silence speaks louder than anyone else's words. They are the ones who make you think, even when they are not trying. This way of thinking is not about playing games with people's emotions. It is not about romance or manipulation in the cheap sense. It is about understanding how leverage works in human interaction. It is about understanding the mechanics of attention, how memory works, how the brain decides what to hold on to and what to forget, and how psychological tension keeps someone mentally connected to you long after the interaction is over. Centuries ago, Machiavelli understood something that most people today still do not understand. Power is not about forcing people to feel something in the moment. Power is about creating the right conditions so that their own mind, their own thoughts, their own curiosity keeps bringing them back to you. Because the strongest form of influence is not control over someone's actions. You can make someone do something through force or pressure, but that is not real power. Real power is influence over their thoughts. When your presence creates unresolved curiosity, when your behavior cannot be fully predicted or categorized, when your absence creates mental friction and discomfort, you become psychologically significant in their world. And people do not chase what is available to them all the time. They chase what occupies their mind. They chase what they cannot stop thinking about. Today we are breaking down 7 modern principles based on this deeper understanding of psychology. These principles turn simple presence into mental permanence. They will not teach you how to chase attention. They will not teach you how to be louder or more visible. They will teach you how to create psychological gravity. They will teach you how to become memorable in a world where everyone is trying to be seen. They will teach you how to become mentally valuable, how to become someone the mind keeps returning to naturally, without you having to force it, without you having to pressure anyone, without you having to beg for attention. Real power in the modern world is being mentally unavoidable. It is being the person that others cannot stop thinking about, even when they want to. Before we go any deeper into these principles, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments right now. Write these words: I control mental space. Say it to yourself. Let it sink in. Because before you can control anyone else's mind, you have to understand that you have the power to control your own presence and your own impact. The first principle is about controlling mental space instead of physical presence. Most people believe that influence comes from being around someone as much as possible. They think that if they just stay close enough, if they are always available, if they never disappear, they will build a stronger connection. So they make themselves constantly available. They respond to messages within seconds. They extend conversations long past their natural ending point. They try to keep the interaction alive for as long as they possibly can. They think that more time equals more bonding. But constant presence does not create value. It creates something much more dangerous. It creates familiarity. And familiarity relaxes the mind. When someone sees you too often, hears from you too frequently, or feels your energy all the time, your presence becomes normal. It becomes predictable. It becomes easy to process. And the human brain does not hold on to what feels ordinary. The brain is designed to filter out background noise. If you become background noise, you get filtered out. Strategic influence works completely differently. The goal is not to be around them longer. The goal is to stay in their mind after you leave. Because power is not measured by how long you were present in the room. Power is measured by how long your impact lasts after you have left. This is where most people fail completely. They focus on duration instead of depth. They talk too much because they are afraid of silence. They explain too much because they are afraid of being misunderstood. They fill every empty space with words and energy. And in doing so, they remove the very thing that creates mental engagement. They remove space. The mind needs space to replay things. When an interaction is short but meaningful, something interesting happens inside the other person's brain. The brain begins to reconstruct the moment. It reviews your words. It analyzes your tone. It tries to understand the intention behind what you said and what you did not say. And that process creates repetition. Repetition creates familiarity. But when that repetition happens inside their own mind, it turns into something much stronger. It turns into fixation. Instead of giving them more of your time, give them something to think about. Say less, but make every word count. Speak with clarity and precision, not with volume and length. End conversations while the energy is still rising, not when it has already started fading into boredom. Because the strongest psychological hook you can create is an unfinished emotional state. When the interaction ends too cleanly, when everything feels wrapped up and complete, the brain checks the box and moves on. But when it ends with curiosity still hanging in the air, when there is interest left unexplored, when there is a slight sense of incompleteness, the mind continues the interaction internally. It keeps playing the tape. It keeps wondering what happens next. And that is how mental space is created. Another key part of this principle is emotional imprint. People do not remember long conversations. They remember emotional shifts. They remember moments that made them feel something different. A moment of unexpected insight that made them see things in a new way. A sharp observation that cut through the noise. A calm reaction in a moment when everyone else expected emotion. When your presence creates a noticeable internal reaction, the brain tags that interaction as significant. It marks it as important, and significance leads to recall. But recall only turns into obsession when it is combined with absence. If you remain constantly available, the mind never needs to revisit you. You are always right there, providing new input. But when you create impact and then step away, the brain has no new input to work with. So it goes back to the old input. It replays the old interactions. and that is when your mental presence grows. Silence after impact is not distance. It is psychological amplification. It makes everything that came before it louder and more significant. Another mistake people make is trying to maintain momentum through constant contact. They believe that continuity builds connection. They think if they just keep the conversation going day after day, the bond will get stronger. In reality, constant contact removes mystery, and mystery is the fuel of mental engagement. When someone does not know exactly when they will hear from you again, when your appearances feel intentional rather than automatic, your presence gains weight. You move from being routine to being an event. You move from being expected to being noticed. And once your presence is noticed, your absence becomes felt. That is the shift from physical interaction to psychological occupation. The most influential individuals are not those who are always around. They are the ones whose brief presence leaves a lasting cognitive trace. Short interaction, deep impact, then space. Because when the conversation ends and their mind keeps replaying it, you are no longer just interacting with them. You are living inside their thoughts. Drop this affirmation in the comments right now. My impact lingers. The second principle is about becoming hard to categorize. The human mind is built for efficiency. It is constantly scanning people and situations, looking for patterns that will help it save energy. The moment it believes it understands someone, it creates a mental label. It puts them in a box. Friendly, serious, emotional, logical, confident, quiet, predictable. Once that label is created, something important happens. Attention drops. The brain believes there is nothing new to discover here. It has already figured this person out, so it stops paying close attention. This is why most people become forgettable. Their reactions are always consistent. Their tone never changes. Their behavior follows a clear pattern every single time. After a short period of knowing them, others feel they already know exactly who they are and exactly what to expect from them. And when someone becomes completely predictable, the mind stops working. It goes on autopilot. But obsession does not grow from certainty. It grows from complexity. When someone cannot fully define you, when they cannot put you in a simple box, their brain keeps trying to figure you out. It looks for hidden meaning in your words. It analyzes your behavior for clues. It pays closer attention to your mood shifts and your reactions, because the mind is uncomfortable with incomplete understanding. It wants closure. It wants to finish the puzzle. And if you never give full closure, if you always leave a little bit of mystery, the attention continues. Most people make themselves easy to read. Their emotions are written all over their face. Their opinions come out immediately without filter. Their reactions are automatic and predictable. They reveal everything about themselves too quickly because they think it builds connection. But full transparency removes intrigue. When someone feels they have seen all your layers, when there is nothing left to discover, curiosity dies. Strategic presence works completely differently. Instead of revealing your full emotional range all at once, you allow different sides of your personality to appear at different moments. Calm in one situation, sharp in another. Light humor when seriousness is expected. Silence when others are reacting emotionally. This contrast creates cognitive tension. The mind begins asking quiet questions. Are they emotional or controlled? Are they warm or distant? Are they relaxed or intense? And the more difficult it becomes to place you into a single category, the more mental energy you receive. But this is not about acting or pretending to be someone you are not. It is about emotional control and selective expression. Most people react automatically based on the situation. They are pushed and pulled by whatever is happening around them. Strategic individuals respond intentionally. They choose when to show intensity and when to show restraint. They choose when to engage deeply and when to step back. This controlled variation prevents pattern formation. And without a stable pattern, the brain stays alert. It keeps watching. It keeps wondering. Another important factor is emotional independence. When your reactions are not driven by the need for approval, When you are not under pressure to perform, when you are not controlled by social expectations, your behavior becomes naturally less predictable. You are not easily influenced by the emotional tone around you. While others rise and fall with the environment, you remain centered and steady. That stability, combined with selective variation, creates a powerful psychological effect. You feel grounded but not simple, clear but not fully revealed, and that balance keeps attention locked in. People often think that being liked comes from being easy to understand, but memorability comes from depth. When someone feels there is more beneath the surface than what is visible, their mind keeps searching for the missing pieces. Every interaction becomes a small investigation. Every conversation becomes a new data point. And over time, that quiet analysis turns into mental investment. They are not just interacting with you anymore. They are trying to understand you. And when someone is trying to understand you, you already occupy their thoughts. Because the rarest psychological position is not being liked by everyone. It is being interesting without even trying. The third principle is about building controlled uncertainty. The human brain is constantly trying to close loops. It wants clarity in every situation. It wants emotional certainty so it knows how to feel and what to expect. It wants to know where things stand, what something means, and what will happen next. When everything feels defined and settled, the mind relaxes, and when the mind relaxes, attention fades away. This is why certainty feels comfortable but rarely creates psychological intensity. When someone knows exactly how you feel about them, exactly how you will respond in any situation, and exactly where they stand in your world, there is no reason for their mind to stay engaged. The emotional equation is complete. There is nothing left to solve. There are no more questions to ask. So the mind moves on to something else. But when there is controlled uncertainty, something very different happens. The mind stays active and alert. It replays conversations looking for hidden signals and meanings. It analyzes your tone, your timing, and your behavior. It tries to predict your emotional position and your next move. It searches for confirmation that never comes fully. And that search, that ongoing mental effort, creates attachment. This does not mean confusion or mixed signals driven by emotional instability. That kind of chaos creates distrust and pushes people away. Controlled uncertainty is different. It comes from emotional steadiness combined with selective clarity. Your energy is consistent and calm. Your behavior is grounded and stable. But your emotional availability is not fully defined or guaranteed. Sometimes you are warm and open. Other times you are reserved and quiet. Sometimes you engage deeply and fully. Other times you step back without needing to explain why. Your attention feels intentional, not automatic. It feels like a choice, not a program. This creates an open loop in their mind. The person cannot fully measure your emotional investment. They sense interest but not certainty. They feel connection but not possession. And that space between connection and certainty is where obsession grows naturally. Another powerful element of controlled uncertainty is timing. Most people respond immediately to everything. Messages come in and they answer right away. Invitations come and they accept instantly. Emotional signals are sent and they react without delay. Their availability becomes completely predictable. Their attention feels guaranteed no matter what. But when your responses follow your own internal rhythm instead of emotional pressure from outside, something shifts. Your presence starts to feel chosen rather than just given. The mind notices that difference. It begins to wonder what else occupies your attention when you are not responding. It begins to value the moments when you do engage, because availability that is not constant starts to feel more valuable. Consistency in your character, combined with variability in your access, creates psychological tension, and that tension keeps attention alive. Language also plays a big role in this. People often over-explain their feelings, their intentions, and their thoughts because they want to avoid being misunderstood. They want to make sure everything is clear, but too much explanation removes mystery. When every emotion is defined and every intention is stated explicitly, there is no room left for interpretation. And interpretation is what keeps the mind working on you. Strategic communication is clear but not exhaustive. You express enough to create connection and understanding, but not so much that there is nothing left to wonder about. The goal is not to create doubt about your integrity or honesty. The goal is to leave some space around your emotional depth. When someone feels there is more beneath the surface than what you reveal, their attention naturally moves toward you, because uncertainty creates curiosity, and curiosity creates mental repetition. They keep coming back to think about you. One more factor makes controlled uncertainty truly powerful. That factor is emotional independence. When your mood, your attention, and your level of engagement are not driven by someone else's reactions, your emotional position feels self-contained and strong. You are not adjusting yourself constantly to maintain their comfort. You are not bending your behavior to keep them happy. You are operating from your own internal center. That independence signals strength. And strength combined with emotional space creates a powerful psychological pull. They cannot fully predict you. They cannot fully measure you, and the mind keeps trying anyway, because the most persistent form of attention comes from unanswered emotional questions. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I create mystery. The fourth principle is about associating yourself with elevation. The human mind is naturally drawn to growth and improvement. People are constantly searching for environments, relationships, and influences that make them feel stronger, sharper, and more capable than they were before. They may never say this out loud, but at a deep psychological level, everyone is asking the same quiet question every time they interact with someone new. Does my life feel better when this person is around? If the answer is yes, attachment begins to form. If your presence makes someone feel more focused, more confident, more disciplined, or more ambitious, you become more than just another connection in their life. You become psychologically valuable to them, and value creates mental priority. You move up in their mental ranking. Most people try to create attachment through comfort alone. They focus on being supportive and agreeable. They try to be easy to be around. They avoid conflict and tension. While comfort does build familiarity and pleasant feelings, it does not always create deep psychological impact. Comfort relaxes the mind. Elevation activates it. When someone leaves an interaction with you feeling more motivated, more aware, or more mentally energized than when they arrived, their brain begins to associate you with progress, and the mind holds tightly onto anything connected with personal improvement and growth. This happens because growth triggers reward chemistry in the brain. When people feel they are becoming better versions of themselves, they naturally want to return to the source of that feeling. Your role in their life is not to entertain them or make them laugh all the time. Your role is to elevate their internal state. This can happen through the way you think, the way you speak, and the standards you carry in your life. When your conversations bring clarity instead of more noise, when your perspective challenges them to think deeper instead of staying comfortable in their old patterns, your presence begins to stand out from everyone else. You are no longer just another person they interact with. You become an influence in their life. Another important factor is emotional atmosphere. If your energy is calm and grounded and forward-focused, people will start to regulate themselves around you. They will match your calmness. Your presence becomes stabilizing in a world that is filled with distraction and emotional ups and downs. And stability itself feels powerful to people who are constantly being pulled in different directions. When someone feels more centered and clear after being around you, your psychological weight in their life increases significantly. But elevation is not created by giving advice or correcting people. Most people resist being told what to do, even when the advice is good. True elevation comes through example. When your lifestyle reflects discipline, purpose, and clear direction, people feel the contrast between you and others without you having to say a word. Your habits communicate your standards. Your focus communicates your priorities. And that silent signal creates respect. Respect is actually stronger than attraction in the long run, because respect builds long-term mental positioning. Attraction can fade when someone newer comes along, but respect keeps you in a category of your own. Another powerful element here is selective reinforcement. When you acknowledge strength, effort, or real progress in someone, instead of just offering casual praise for everything, your approval starts to feel meaningful and earned. You are not giving validation away freely to everyone. You are recognizing real growth when you see it. And when your recognition feels earned rather than automatic, your words carry real weight. People begin to value your opinion more than others. And once someone values your opinion, they start to think about how they appear in your eyes, even when you are not physically present. That is psychological elevation turning into mental presence. They carry you with them. There is also a contrast effect that happens naturally. If your environment, your conversations, and your mindset are consistently moving toward improvement and higher standards, other environments may start to feel less stimulating by comparison. Your presence becomes associated with momentum, and momentum is addictive to the human mind. People naturally return to places and individuals who make them feel like they are moving forward instead of standing still. This is how elevation creates attachment without any pressure being applied. You are not asking for their attention, you are not chasing them. Your presence earns attention naturally because the mind prioritizes whatever improves its future. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I elevate everyone around me. If this content helped you understand the real power of presence and how to occupy mental space, make sure you hit the like button on this video. Share it with someone who needs to understand these concepts. And subscribe to the channel for more strategies on influence, psychology, and mental dominance. Drop one more comment with your affirmation. Write these words: I am mentally unavoidable. Your mind is your most powerful weapon. And now you understand how to make others think about you long after you have left the room.